5, 6, 7, 8.
Spotlight.
On stage at MMT.
Spotlight.
I meet the cast, crew, and company.
Spotlight.
Sit back,
On stage
relax, and
tonight.
give us a
Spotlight on stage at
MMT. Welcome back to Spotlight on Stage. This evening we have, for your viewing pleasure, Mr. David and Mr. Patrick. So we will let them introduce themselves. David, you're up.
Hi, I'm David McCloughan Jr., a local resident of Lambertville, so this theater is literally in my backyard, and it's fantastic, and I love working here.
And I'm Patrick Lavery. I'm a resident of Flemington, just up the road, and I've been here since the first show I did was Godspell, which was August of 2018. So fairly new to the family, but they've become my second home.
Why don't you tell the people at home who may be watching this how long you've been performing with us, or what your first show was and what that experience was like, and also kind of what led you to come and audition for us in the first place.
I jumped the gun on that, so
You want
to start?
Okay. So I go back a ways with Lewis and Jordan at another playhouse across the river. Yes, indeed. That's how I got involved in the group, and actually I was still at that playhouse, and I think it was Lewis texted me about Seussical in the summer of 2010, and I had a break in the schedule at that other playhouse, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I did that, and then the following summer I was probably in every show that season. So it just kind of went from there.
But correct me if I'm wrong, you were also in our very first production of High School Musical for our studio.
That's how I got involved with the
Deepak.
playhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
David was in.
It was again Disney's fault because you know, Disney and Star Wars is my life. But yeah, my mom saw an article in probably the Beacon or the Democrat, one of the two papers, saying that they were doing auditions for like High School Musical, and at the time I was way too old for it, but I was like, I love High School Musical. Yeah, it's great. And I just remember walking into that old studio in Lambertville, and like everyone was like 5 years old. And I was like, oh my God, I'm the creepy old guy in this group of kids.
No.
But no. And like, you know, they didn't treat me like that or anything. And then, I mean, I was one of the adults in the cast, so that worked.
Right.
But it was funny. Yeah, no, that's where I first met. And then I think I ran Spotlight for Seussical at the Playhouse.
Oh, how funny.
Like right after that, because Steven had asked me to do that. And I'm like, yeah, why not? And yeah, because I was, I think, a year out of college at that point. So yeah, that's how it all, and then it all comes together. And the rest is history. Yeah.
And how about you, Patrick?
And David doesn't realize when I got involved with the theater, the few degrees of separation that were involved in that. I did not at the time. I was having dinner over Christmas 2017, so right after you guys opened here, with a friend of mine and my wife's from college who grew up with David and is from Lambertville. And I think Jordan had worked with you.
I worked with Amanda, too, at Lily's on the Canal in Lambertville for years.
Right.
And
that's
so
right.
in the course of this dinner, I had been unable to do theater for a couple of years because I was working a night shift, which robbed me of any chance to do anything extracurricular. Right. So I was getting back into that after having switched shifts. And over this dinner, she said, you know, I know someone who just opened up a theater in Lambertville. You should go audition. I know they're doing Godspell, which she had seen me in at TCNJ in 2006 with Jen Nelson and John Fisher.
Right.
So I came here. That audition was, I guess, March of 18.
Yep.
And I wasn't available for anything else in that season up until Godspell. And luckily, I got in, and I've been here ever since.
I've never left. Tell us about your experience as Patrick, for anyone who doesn't know at home, about your performing as a young performer.
Yeah, actually, I got into acting in an unconventional way. It really grew out of my performing, giving impromptu concerts at family parties, somebody said to my parents, have you ever thought of bringing him in to audition professionally for something or other? So one thing led to another. We had some contacts, and eventually I wound up going into New York City. This is around 1993-4, and auditioning for a series of things, and eventually getting the first replacement for the role of Chip in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway in December of '94. And I was in the show for all of '95 and '96. And then shortly after, I was about 10 years old, and I said to my parents, this is fun, but I want to be a kid.
That's amazing.
So that was pretty much the extent of it. But,
Yeah.
Obviously something that was formative and something that really had me catch the bug, which I have learned you can catch multiple times.
Oh, yes.
And David, I believe that you did theater in high school. Is that correct?
Yes, only in high school. I was a kind of late bloomer to theater. Also, I was actually going to film school to be a director.
That's right, in San Fran.
In
right?
San Francisco,
California.
yeah. And I had done theater in high school. Godspell was junior year, and then senior year was Pippin, and we. Yeah, it was my music teacher. I didn't even, well, she made me audition, but she basically told me I was going to be in the show
Yeah.
because I was in choir and
Sure.
like Patrick at home, I would sing and I would act out Disney movies, like
It
Aladdin.
always
and-
happens that way with men. They make you audition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I mean, it's like the not so secret of musical theater. When you're a guy, it's almost, I wouldn't say easy, but like
Well, it's certainly easier. yeah.
easier. Yeah, exactly. Because there's 8,000 women and 5 men, so you're gonna get some parts. But yeah, no, it was Mrs. Bunce. She was like, "Listen, we're doing Godspell. It's 10 people. I want you in it." I'm like, "Okay, sure, like whatever." And it was a lot of fun, and it was great. And then she not made me do, but I wanted to do the larger show the next year was Pippin. But I started my college journey as a film major, as a director. And I was going to be George Lucas and make Star Wars and all that
Yes.
stuff. And
You still
then,
can.
Oh,
You
well,
still can.
sure, yes, I can. But what happened was I took a couple theater classes, and the school I was at was developing a theater program. So at the time, and I ended up kind of being a guinea pig, so to speak. And between my junior and senior year, I took 4 years worth of theater classes.
Okay.
Because they started building the program like my sophomore year, and they wanted me in it, and I'm like, yeah, I like this. And then High School Musical happened, and it all kind of came together, and yeah.
And David is one of our performers who has had the opportunity to perform with a family member. So why don't you give her a little shout out?
Yes, my sister, Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin. We miss you.
Yes,
Soon,
we
Caitlin,
do.
soon.
I see you every day, but that's another story. Yeah, no, it was great. I was with you guys at the park, and Caitlin came to the shows, and she was like, "I want to do this." I'm like, "Okay, then audition next time," because she also she used to do the Star Spangled Banner at the Lambertville Ramblers football games every year, and she was a singer. Again, we grew up watching the Disney movies of the '90s and the early 2000s, and that's what you do. You just sing them, and but yeah, no. So that was a really cool experience, as you guys know, performing with family.
Absolutely.
It's just really fun. And then we got to do. I remember Bonnie and Clyde. We were both not Bonnie and Clyde. There was a show that we were both blonde, and I was laughing about it because
Was it Millie?
Yes,
It
that's
was
what it
Millie.
was. It was Millie because Caitlin had a blonde wig.
Yeah.
And I had
And you
the
had a blonde wig
my
too.
non-natural blonde. And but yeah, and I sent a selfie to my mom, and she was like, "Oh my God, you're both blonde." I'm like, "Yep."
And one day we will get Kristen up here on stage.
She's going to be in Christmas Carol one of
Okay.
these years.
Yeah, well,
So
just
we will
sneak
get
her
her,
on.
yeah.
Nobody will know.
You probably don't know. She took dance classes until she was 14. So
All right.
Nice.
probably still has a little
Get
bit
ready
of
for
that
the
muscle
fezzy
memory.
wig,
I'm
the
sure
fezzy
it'll
wig
come back.
ball, Kristen.
And Jackson,
Yes.
Yeah.
my nephew Jackson.
Jackson's actually rehearsed the show.
I was gonna say, Kate. Yes, Jackson was unofficially backstage
Yeah.
for a year or two, and then even maybe in a stomach,
Yeah.
he was already a part of the show. So yeah.
And Jordan and I also directed your brother at
In
the high
anything,
school.
oh my
Yes,
God,
in
that
Anything
was
Goes
the
in high
best.
school.
Like Caitlin and I were freaking out because my brother Thomas, thank you for the sweater by the way, because everyone knows I don't have nice clothes. Um, we were freaking out because he said he was going to do the musical, and Caitlin and I are looking at each other. So he's a jock, FYI, like football stud,
Football star.
basketball, baseball, coaching, all sorts of that stuff. So he would sing, and eventually he would rap Hamilton and that kind of thing. But like he was never considered a theater kid. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to be in the musical. So Caitlin and I were there every night. We're like,
his
we
senior
need
year,
to see
right?
this. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
his senior
last
year.
in
Yep.
high school.
Yeah, yep. And you guys
Indeed.
directed it.
We
Yeah.
did. We directed. Yeah. Anything Goes.
But yeah, so we've all done. We all three of us haven't done a show together,
One
like
day.
like the Prick Girls, but yes, one day maybe. Who
Brick Girls
knows?
set that bar high.
They did. Oh my God,
family
all
of
five of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a hard bar to jump over, as Katie would.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
All right, why don't you guys let the people at home know, because we want them to know a little bit about you guys, which is kind of why we're doing these little interviews. Your life outside of the theater. They come and they see you on stage, and sometimes out in the lobby we'll chat. Well, before COVID we would. So why don't you tell everyone at home what you do for a living that doesn't pertain to this theater?
Hi guys. Sure. So I work at a local grocery store, and I run the coffee section of it for trademark purposes. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say. But I am a barista, and I am the head barista, sure, now. And it's funny because since we've opened at MMT, that part of the grocery store opened around the same time. And these random customers that I now know from here and from work, they see, oh, hey, you're the guy in the show. And it's pretty cool. It's like I was always the face of that grocery store anyway, because I've worked there since I was 16 years old. And I'm not 27 like I tell everyone I am. So, you guys
You're 28.
Right, yes, exactly. So you guys can do the math on that. But and it's fun. Like I have my little corner of the store, and I can pass out our brochures, and I get people interested, and they come back and they're like, oh, I don't have anything to do tonight, and I'm like, oh, well, we're doing a show. And
Luckily, David likes to talk. If anyone hasn't realized.
Yeah, a little bit.
So working at the local grocery store and the local theater has its perks.
Absolutely, yeah. And since it's such a tight-knit community, you see a lot of the same people. Yeah. And there were customers who didn't even know about the theater who just happened to come, and they were like, was that you? I'm like, mm-hmm. I'm like, that was me, hi. And so it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so I do that, and then right now I sleep.
Yeah.
Well, let's preserve all copyright purposes then. And also because the headshot that I use here was taken for the place that I work, and I haven't really crossed that bridge yet.
Gotcha.
But I am the afternoon news anchor for a large and well-known radio station in New Jersey. So you may have heard my voice somewhere, and you can figure it out. But that is, I started there as I started there as the evening news anchor in 2013. Then I moved to mornings in 2016, and for the last about year or so, I've been doing the afternoons.
I literally one morning almost crashed my car because
He'll text me if I'm doing the morning show.
I go in early every morning, somewhere between the vicinity of 5:15 and 5:45, depending on how much sleep I get the night before. And the one morning, just randomly, I had completely forgotten that Patrick worked at a radio station. And good morning, New Jersey. This is Patrick Lavery. And I was like, oh my God! I was like freaking out. And luckily there was no one else on the road. But I immediately got to work and I texted him. I'm like, I just heard you on the radio. And you're like, that's my job. And I'm like, right.
All right. So moving on from our jobs and car crashes, if you were to pick your favorite experience, either here or at the park, favorite show that you've been part of, or
Yeah, every one is so individually special. I think for me, and I know how special it is to both of you, few things I think can top Will Rogers' Follies. It just it's a show that's not done very often. It's a show that the people who know it really know it, but comparatively to some bigger shows out there, not a lot of people know it, I think, as well as they should.
Yeah.
And it was so difficult to get through that process of putting that show up.
It's a huge show.
But once we did it, every night was just magic. It was great.
Yeah, I remember opening night of that show. I was just in the audience with his wife, and like I just remember walking in and seeing those stairs, and I was like, whoa, what is it? Because I knew nothing about the show at all. Like I will admit, I knew nothing about. I knew that we were doing it and that Lewis and Patrick were in it, and that's basically it.
She and my parents were in the audience on opening night, and my mom has been a dancer all her life. Still teaches mommy and me classes for toddlers, and she described my expression when I came out in the opening number the best. She said, "You looked like you were," and I think Kristen has co-opted this. I'm not actually sure which one of them said it, but they were in agreement. They said, "The expression on my face is, I am dancing on the steps."
For anyone at home that doesn't know, the Will Rogers Follies is a musical based on Will Rogers' his life. It's a kind of a review style show, so it spans his whole life, but it's kind of out of order in a few spots, and his career and his love life and family. But the entire set is a gigantic set of white stairs that light up different colors, and the cast of a dozen or so ladies and 4 gentlemen in the ensemble, plus the principal characters have to dance and lay down and kick and tap dance and walk up and down and everything on these steps. So
It was really cool.
it's a lot. And for the cast, you learn it on a flat stage. Then the set goes up, and you have to almost relearn the entire show.
Well, that was like when we were at the studio and we were at the open air theater. Like we would rehearse it one way in the studio, and then when we got to the theater, it was like, all right, we got to relearn this and respace this. And
And
I mean, we kind of do that still here because sometimes there's more of a set or whatever. But like, I feel like it's more at home here because it's our stage. It's our,
and I think now that we've been here for so long, which isn't really that long, but you can visualize things better, because you know the space. And in the park, there was always, if there were things that were too big, sometimes we would bleed out into other spaces or behind the stage. And so it's just a little bit easier to visualize things here before they're actually physically there. So, David, give us a favorite performance experience.
No, I
just one.
There's so many. No, one that I always joke about this every year, but like Christmas Carol is always my favorite, and part of it is because I got to share it with Caitlin every year, and also I was almost in every year. I missed the first year of Christmas Carol, so I'm not in that elite 10 group. But
Nine.
I know, just
but you're in the Niners.
But I'm in the Niners, so yeah, I do pretty good. And like 4 or 5 of them was with Caitlin, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Like she did quite a few. But one of the ones that stand out is actually Caitlin's favorite musical, Jekyll and Hyde at the park. Just because at the time, like that was going to be our last show at the park, and then life happened, but pre-COVID, so it wasn't as bad as now. But there was something. It was in October, and it was really cold, and it was really rainy. But like it took place in London, and it was a spooky show. So like there was just something with like the real fog and the unnatural fog, and like Lewis belting his high notes up there and his cape, and like there was just something really, 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 really awesome about that show. So
I'll never
that one.
forget that one with all of you sitting in those chairs. It was like the second song in the show.
Yes.
And it was just like pelting rain on everyone, and you were standing up and going against everything that Lewis's character was stating. And it was just like all these feelings, all these emotions that nature gave us.
And I remember during the one rehearsal, Jackson was there backstage in his stroller, and he woke up and started crying, and Caitlin was on the other side of the stage just ignoring him. So I ran off stage, picked him up, and brought him on stage with me, and I'm doing the whole number with Jackson in my hands. This was during rehearsal, not during a performance.
Kid's got a lot of experience.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
So why don't you guys tell everyone at home, and us as well, just pick a show that we haven't yet produced, whether it be, from the open air time through the MMT time, a show that we haven't produced that you'd like to see put on here.
A personal favorite of mine, and David and I got to do a number from it in one of the concerts over the summer, is Damn Yankees. We saw the revival on Broadway in the 90s, and it's a favorite of mine. Then the music is so great, and some of the music that made it into the 50s concert just reaffirms that.
That's a good one.
It's a great show.
And I've never actually seen that one all the way through.
It's
So,
a great show.
Yeah,
Great
that's
show.
what I know. We've talked about it when we did the song in the concert. Yeah. I got to stick with my Disney roots, Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
I know Lewis is going to know that answer. But yeah, so there's even a whole new level of this. But yeah, like Beauty and the Beast was actually one of my first Broadway shows that I ever saw. I did not see Patrick in it, disclaimer. It wasn't that small of a world. But yeah, it was, but no, I remember the kids did it.
Yeah, we did it for
years
for
ago,
our
like during
studio.
Shadfest or something, and I was so jealous. I went and I was so proud and everything, but like I was so jealous. I was like, that needs to be us. That needs to be us. That needs to be us. So
yeah, it'll come
we'll do
around.
it.
at
right,
some
I
point.
know you've said that before. You're like 1 year, David. 1 year. Don't worry. So
And I was going to say, you directed a heck of a production of Aladdin Jr.
Yes.
on the stairs.
on the
On the stairs, that's right.
Yes. So that was my shocked face because that was a Friday night, the opening night, and Monday morning we started Aladdin rehearsal, and I was directing that with the kids, and I was like, "Oh, those stairs move, right?" And Jenny's like, "No," and I was like, "Oh." I'm like, "Okay."
Creative time.
Oh yeah. But I remember I spent all weekend. I was at work and I was like drawing the stairs, and I'm like, "How can I do this? How can I do this?
Yeah.
How can I do that?" But yeah, no, that was an interesting challenge, and that was a lot of fun. Too, directing the kids. Like, that was great.
So we want to just bring up some, things that have stood out to us about you guys since we've been working together. And obviously, David has been with us for a long time. He was a wonderful Marcellus in The Music Man. He's always a part of the Rocky Horror Show, which it's been a while since we've done that before.
Rocky Horror, rah, rah, rah.
But I really do think
Same
my
thing.
favorite.
Thing.
Yeah, right. I really do think my favorite thing that you, are doing for us currently and maybe have ever done is the Ghost of Christmas Present. You're just so wonderful in it. You bring so much joy and energy to it. It's just really terrific. And
Thank you.
you've played a gamut of roles in the show.
I will never. 2017 was so I was already Old Joe, and I was all these different ensemble parts. And like in the opening number, I changed my costume 3 times. Now, granted, the opening number is 20 minutes long.
But most people are one character in that opening.
Exactly, and I
David
had like 20
3.
seconds. I don't know how many times I went on without the cape. I'm not really sure. But that was the year they added Jacob Marley, into my track. And I remember my dad, and it was actually the last show that he saw, he was like, "You're never off stage." I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "We added that one little role, and then I'm just on the whole." Yeah, no, that's the other reason I love that show so much, because I've played almost every part.
Yeah, every track.
And I joke with David Whiteman, when he's ready to retire, I'll just slide up in there as Scrooge.
There you go.
But
Put
no,
the
I
night
do.
shirt
I do.
on.
I think my favorite throughout is definitely Ghost of Christmas Present, and it was one I never thought I would play, to be completely honest, because you had so many great people playing it, and I was like, "Oh, they'll just
And
keep
now
doing
we
it."
have another.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you. And Patrick, and this comes from probably more of a personal side because we know the show so well, but we just had so much fun doing Nonsense with you. It's such a
Sister Mary Robert.
a unique experience
Robert
to do
Ann.
Nonsense on Men. And I want you to kind of elaborate just a little bit about what that experience was like for you, because for those of you who maybe have not seen it, Nonsense on Men is done with 5 actors. And in this particular instance for Patrick, he had not done the show before, if I'm correct. And the other 4 actors in the show had done it before. So why don't you talk a little bit about that experience for you?
Sure. I mean, that was interesting for me because it was really the first time that I had 2 shows here that backed up against each other. We were already in production on Christmas Carol when we started rehearsals on that. And me being the first, me being the only person that had to get blocked into the show, that was interesting because you kind of know how all the beats are going to go with the other actors. So it was kind of a wrestling of how do I make this part my own versus how am I not going to mess up, what they already have. I think Louis, you said something to me that really helped me because I was not raised Catholic. So even that kind of learning process of all of kind of like the little inside Catholic jokes, that was fun for me to go through. But I think, Louis, you said something to me that really helped. I had asked you about makeup, and you said to me, you have to understand, they're not women or men, they're nuns. So that was very helpful. But I just remember listening, because I obviously knew of its existence and all of the spin-offs that it has had.
Yeah, many.
But I was not too familiar with the music, and the first time I listened through a cast recording, I don't remember what even it was, but I was just drawn to Robert Ann's songs.
Sure.
That character just has such funny and insightful, and the ballad that opens the second act
It's
beautiful song.
is also just gorgeous. And then there's the whole improv section where he does impressions.
Yep.
Which we went through. Oh gosh, our list must have been about like 20, and it was like, okay, try this one,
Yep.
try that one, and I think we stuck with a rotating roster of maybe like 8 that I would swap in. Like for every performance, I would do 6 or 7 of the 8. So depending on what the audience reaction was.
Yeah, because the audience is a huge part of that show. It's five nuns on stage,
Right.
but the audience is kind of the sixth character besides the lighting and sound
But
crew.
it was also the chance to work on something that intimate with the two of you and Michael and David was.
It's
a
a
great
good
show.
time. It's
Yeah.
a good time. It's just as good a time for us as it is for the audience.
And every performance
hopefully.
is different because there is kind of that improv aspect of the show.
Oh yeah.
So we're asking this to everyone, and everyone's answer is going to be a little bit different. But we want you to kind of let the people at home know why it is that you come back to performing for both of you time and time again here. Not necessarily restricting it to only performing here, but what is it about performance that keeps you donating your time and giving so freely of your time and talents? Just kind of elaborate on that.
I think for me, a huge part of it that can't be understated is that I had not worked on a show when I came here to do Godspell. I had not worked on a show in a long time that had such a quick turnaround time. And I've done a couple of other things with a couple of other places since then, and the rehearsal process to me now seems so drawn out anywhere else. I really like the fact that you can like really sink your teeth in over a period of 2 or 3 weeks,
Very short time.
and the adrenaline by the time you get to opening night. I mean, you're both exhausted and so excited to look back on the process and say, like, this was only, I don't know, 17 days ago that we started this, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I also I have felt welcome since the moment that I came in here, which is a credit to the two of you and to Ginny, but also just the people that you surround yourselves with. And the audiences.
And the audience.
Of course.
Right, of course. Yeah, it's just fun.
That's a fine answer.
Yeah, no, and like, I mean, I love it, and it's fantastic, and what you said about the rehearsal process is true. Actually, my sister did a show elsewhere, a show that we had previously done at the park with our, 2.5-week rehearsal period, and she rehearsed it over 4 months. And it was a great show that she loved to do, and she said, I'm getting bored of this. Like, she literally came home the one night from rehearsal and said, and I have been very fortunate that I I call this place home. Like, I don't perform anywhere else. I only perform at MMT. And, you know, the coffee counter at the grocery store. But during rehearsals,
That counts.
it does count. Oh, yeah. The customers will tell you I do that. But no, like, I don't want to perform anywhere else, to be completely honest. Like, this is family. And for me, I go back even farther, and it's fun when like Brownie will come in or something, you know, like someone from the old Playhouse days will come and do a show, and like, or they come in the audience, or like Erin, who I used to work with at the play, you know, she comes all the time with her kids and whatever. Like, you know, it's so nice to see them again, and you know, it really is a community, and we have our little home in here, and it's awesome to be a part of, and it's escape from. Well, I can't say a 9 to 5 because I don't have a 9 to 5. I have a 5 to 2. Let's say it's an escape from the 5 to 2. But yeah, no, it's a great place to be. And like I said, the audiences love it. And I think you guys can say how much, like you can tell how much fun we are having up on stage, because I think it shows in the final product.
That's a great point, because we have had people say, you know, you remember Chris Green, Joan's husband?
Yes.
When he would photograph for us, and he said, there's just something about the way you do things that people just look so happy. It makes it so easy and so enjoyable to photograph. And I thought that was such a nice compliment to get, because, you know, again, we're all donating our time for something that we love to do. And it's just nice that we have the kind of environment and atmosphere where people are not only supportive of one another, but are really encouraging each other. And I think it's great. Yes, the process is fast here. And sure, if you spend more time on it, you can really get down to the details being exactly how you want them. But when you do it on a quicker pace, I think it forces your actors to be more on their feet, and it forces you as an actor to start thinking from the get-go, I need to know who this person is. I need to know what kind of decisions that this person would make.
Make strong choices from the get-go.
Yeah, and it just really forces you to do that on your own. And then hopefully who's ever, you know, directing will kind of guide you as well. Thank you for all of those answers. We're going to switch now to our ode to the inside the actor studio questions.
First answer that comes to your head, gents. What is your favorite musical?
You have to go first.
I'm probably one of a few people in the world who would even consider a flop such as Merrily We Roll Along, which I did in high school, and it quite literally changed my life. It was just the right show at the right time. Absent that, Beauty and the Beast.
Of course.
Of course.
David?
I've been stressing over this answer for 2 weeks. I've been texting him. I'm like, what's my favorite musical? I have so many. Bombshell. I know it doesn't exist yet, but it will.
That's
It
a
will,
strong
and
answer.
I
And I
love
will be
that
there to
show.
see it.
And
Talk
oh
about
my
making
gosh,
a strong choice.
Bombshell.
So Bombshell is
I
from Smash, the TV show on NBC. What is it, 10 years ago now?
like
yeah, about.
Yeah.
like
geez.
eight,
Yeah.
And
8
it
or
was
9,
you
yeah.
know, it's a sitcom about Broadway performers and writers and directors and everything putting on Bombshell, the musical about Marilyn Monroe.
And the best part about it is they got I'm
They
gonna
got
get
an
I'm gonna get their
amazing
name wrong, so I'm
team.
not even gonna say it.
An
The
amazing
ones
team of
that
people.
did Hairspray,
Yeah.
they write all the music for this fictional
Musical. But
and
it's amazing.
Oh, it's fantastic. And like
It is great music.
from the show, the way they kind of weaved the songs to go with the characters was really cool too. But like just as itself, like I know at the beginning of this pandemic, they actually streamed the concert version, and I got a chance to watch it, and like just seeing all of them together in a row, and like it was the original stars, of course, which was nice. But like it like the music stands on its own, and it's
Yeah.
a
It's really
great
great.
score. And yeah, so Bombshell. I'm gonna say Bombshell.
Glad
Then
you went with it.
what is
Thank
your
you.
least favorite musical? Patrick?
Starlight Express.
Starlight Express. Starlight Express. Starlight Express.
I'm sorry, Rhett. Fiddler on the Roof.
Aw.
That's all right. It's not everyone's cup
No,
of
I
tea.
can't. And Caitlin loves it, and she's gonna like be screaming at the computer when she's watching this. But
All right. What sound or noise do you love?
I have always said, you can ask Kristen about this. I have actually said this. If I went deaf, I would miss a Stevie Wonder harmonica solo, I think, more than anything.
Right.
It's great.
this is gonna sound really weird, but I work in a grocery store. Just remember this: the sound of the doors, the like whoosh,
Oh, yeah.
like the automatic doors.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like a Jedi every time I walk through.
Satisfying.
I get
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. Like I like that noise. I don't know. Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, what sound or noise do you hate?
Well, on that topic, I was thinking about this. A door slamming.
All right.
Please place your item in the bag. I hear that in my sleep.
And when the scale doesn't know that you've put the item there already, you just keep saying it.
So frustrating.
All right, gentlemen, what is your favorite word?
Awesome.
That's my word. Can you bleep this out now?
We can.
No, I'm teasing. Excellent.
What is your least favorite word?
Well, seeing as I'm going to start a war if I say pork roll, Lewis, you'll appreciate this. February or anything that drops a letter.
Yeah. I gotcha. Okay, so I
David
get,
has a least favorite
oh,
word.
sorry.
Christmas.
Oh.
And Lewis will appreciate that one too.
Yes.
My
Yeah.
favorite rehearsal of Christmas Carol every year.
How do we say it?
Christmas like Swissmas.
Thank you very much. Listen to Judy. Listen to Frank. That's how you say it. Well, that's how you sing it, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Okay, so what is your curse word of choice? You can feel free to say it. We will bleep you out.
Son of a.
Fuck you.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
both strong choices. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Play-by-play announcer for the Yankees.
Mm,
I don't know.
just George Lucas's replacement.
Head of the Lucasfilm Story Group.
There you go.
There we go. Thank you, Jordan.
Yep.
I knew it
Uh,
was in here.
So then what profession would you never like to do, would you not like?
Snowplow driver.
You'd
Especially
have made a
this
lot of money
winter.
this
Yeah.
year.
Hey, I was gonna say you'd be making a lot of money this year. Janitorial.
Okay.
Yeah.
And lastly, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
We've heard a lot about you.
Yes, your Disney Plus subscription still works.
There you go.
Both tracks.
Well, gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for doing this. You are both wonderful supporters of us, not only on stage, but also in the audience. These two see everything, and David's laugh is easily
Yes.
recognizable and always welcome. So thank you again for donating your time and talents, not only on stage, but for coming in and doing this
Yeah.
as well. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.